Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, we're going to be doing a 14-team PPR mock draft from the 11th overall spot. Inside today's video, I'll be going in depth into my thought process behind every single pick I make in this draft, as well as talking about how I feel the draft is going as a whole, some of the picks that I like, as well as some of the picks that I end up disliking inside of the draft. But before we could get on into things, I would like to ask that if you guys are new to the channel and you do end up enjoying today's video, that you please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. And while you're down there, whether you are new to the channel or not, please make sure that you do leave a like on today's video. It would help us out a ton. And if you would like to follow me on Twitter, please do so at Notorious FNTSY. So without further ado, let's get into this 14-team PPR mock draft from the 11th overall spot. So the roster settings of today's mock draft are going to be 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, a tight end, flex, kicker, defense, and 6 bench spots, making this draft be 15 rounds. So without further ado, let's get into things. Now, 14-team leagues, if you are new to a 14-team league, this may be a bit intimidating because by the 3rd round, it really starts to feel like you're in the 4th round of drafts. It really feels like things are going much quicker. Players are coming off the board that you didn't think would be selected in a certain round. So if you are new to 14-team leagues, I would heavily suggest doing a bunch of mock drafts with this format. I have played in a 14-team league for a very long time now, my main league in fantasy football with all my friends from home. We've been doing this league since we were in middle school. We've been doing 14 teams for a while, so I'm pretty used to it, and I have a pretty set-in-stone strategy that I look to use in every single draft in a 14-team league. So the draft begins with Christian McCaffrey, followed by Derrick Henry, Jonathan Taylor, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Dalvin Cook, Austin Eckler, Najee Harris, Cooper Kupp, and Joe Mixon. Now, there's only been 3 wide receivers selected so far, and in my opinion, in a 14-team league, the running back dead zone is even more real because by the time after we make our 204 pick, it is going to take roughly 7,000 years until we get to pick again at the 3.11, and the running back fall off from the 204 to the 311 is fucking huge. So in my opinion, in a 14-team league, I definitely want to be getting 1 running back with my first 2 picks, if not 2 running backs. Now again, should you go into the draft forcing yourself to take running back? Because in reality, if Cooper Kupp, Justin Jefferson, and Jamar Chase are all available, right? If everyone goes running back with the first 10 picks, then I'm going to take fucking Cooper Kupp because I like the value there and I want to get him. But based upon how this draft has gone, I want to go ahead and get a running back. There is some worries right now about Alvin Kamara. I still do believe that he is going to be good to go and won't be suspended all season, but there's a little bit more talks now about him potentially getting that suspension. So I'm slightly more worried now, but in reality, I think everything's going to be just fine. So we're to go here with DeAndre Swift. I think there's a solid chance that Alvin Kamara falls back to us. And of course, as I say that, he doesn't. The reason why I went with DeAndre Swift is because I think he has pretty similar upside to Alvin Kamara. We saw DeAndre Swift break off an excellent play yesterday in that preseason matchup for the Detroit Lions. DeAndre Swift is a heavily utilized piece in this Detroit Lions offense. I think they are going to be significantly better this year when compared to last season. And I find it perfectly acceptable to select DeAndre Swift inside of the first round. So after we go Swift comes Devontae Adams, Travis Kelce, Alvin Kamara, Stephon Diggs, 9-inch Nicholas Chubb, and CeeDee Lamb. Now, if you guys have been watching a lot of these mock draft videos, I talk a lot about how I do like to get one of those top 5 tight ends in my fantasy football draft. But in a 14-team league, I believe this is the kind of league where I don't really want to draft a tight end super early because I believe that I will have a strong fall off at running back and wide receiver if I draft a tight end early. Now, can you win your league drafting Travis Kelce at the 1.13? 100% you can definitely do that. But in my opinion, I would rather just go ahead and look away from the tight end early in a 14-team league. So here, we are going to go running back yet again. I do like Debo, Mike Evans, Tyreek Hill, but again, by the time things come back, things are going to look brutal at the running back position, so we're just going to go with another running back here. I think Aaron Jones or Saquon Barkley are acceptable at this pick. I have started to really realize that Saquon Barkley, while he has been banged up the last couple of years, if he is healthy, this guy literally looks so good in all his training camp footage I've seen. I understand the Giants are far from this excellent team, but Saquon Barkley has been on Giants teams that haven't been that great, and he has been excellent, so I think Saquon Barkley is a solid pick inside of the 2nd round, and I'm surprised he's not a 1st-round pick right now because I would consider him to be one of those fringe first-round guys in a 14-team league. I'm excited to get him at the 204. After Saquon Barkley, we see Tyreek Hill followed by Deebo Samuel, Ron Jones, Mike Evans, Keenan Allen, Josh Allen, Leonard Fournette, A.J. Brown, Mark Andrews, and James Conner to close out the second round. If you select a quarterback in the second round of any format besides 2-quarterback or Superflex, you are a certified fucking dummy. Please do not take a quarterback inside of the first 4 rounds. You are drastically hurting your team doing so, especially in a 14-team league where the running backs are very scarce. That's looking like a terrible pick on Josh Allen in the second round. And then we see the third round open with Javonte Williams, Justin Herbert the pervert. Again, I think that's a bad pick. Ezekiel Elliott, Higgins, Cam Akers, David Montgomery, Michael Pittman, Kyle Pitts, Terry McLaurin, and Patrick Mahomes. Please do not take a quarterback in the top 4 rounds. I genuinely do believe it is going to hurt your team a ton. Looking at running backs available right now, we got Travis Etienne, Breece Hall, Josh Jacobs, Antonio Gibson. I think after Etienne and Breece Hall, we basically fall into this range of running back that I'm just staying clear away from, but we already have 2 running backs, so I honestly think there is no need to force a third here in the third round. So looking at wide receivers, we have Deontay Johnson, Jalen Waddle, DJ Moore, DK Metcalf, Jerry Jeudy, and Courtland Sutton. I think taking Deontay Johnson, Jalen Waddle, DJ Moore, or Courtland Sutton are acceptable at this pick. I've had a lot of talks in the comment sections of these videos about Courtland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy. I do prefer Courtland Sutton. I think he is the bigger bodied receiver in this offense. I think that means that he's going to be scoring more touchdowns in this offense. I think Jerry Jeudy could definitely outscore Courtland Sutton, but if I was to take a bet on which wide receiver I think is more fantasy relevant week in and week out, I would say that it would be Courtland Sutton. Again, you can go with any of these wide receivers. I'm going to go with DJ Moore. I really do believe this year with Baker Mayfield, DJ Moore is going to take a huge step up. DJ Moore has struggled immensely in fantasy football, not being a bad wide receiver, but not being able to eclipse that top 5 potential that he has because of the quarterback position, because Cam Newton, all these quarterbacks that he's had to play with were absolute dog shit. I understand Baker Mayfield isn't the second coming of Patrick Mahomes or something like that, but at the end of the day, Baker Mayfield is still very talented, and I think DJ Moore will excel with Baker Mayfield as the starting quarterback. After DJ Moore, we see George Kittle meet Timbers, Deontay Johnson, Darren Waller, Travis Etienne, DK Metcalf, and Jalen Waddle away, waddle, till the very next day, bum, 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 bum. And I talked a little bit yesterday in yesterday's mock draft about Darren Waller potentially being banged up. I'm starting to think that maybe Darren Waller isn't banged up and he's just actually holding out. And we haven't seen a true holdout for a while. Like the last one I can remember is Le'Veon Bell. So Darren Waller seems to be holding out right now and could be in jeopardy of missing the first couple weeks of the season. He fired his agent, which is why I kind of think it's not an injury-related thing. I think it's more has to do with his contract, and he wants to be paid like the tight end that he is, right? He's one of the better tight ends in the NFL. Looking at running back, Breece Hall is an acceptable pick, but again, we already have 2 that I'm confident in, so we are going to go wide receiver here. You could go quarterback next round, but in the 4th round, again, I'm staying away. We are going to go wide receiver. My favorite wide receiver that fell to us here is Courtland Sutton. If you're feeling spicy, you can go with Mike Williams. I think he has some insane upside game in and game out, but he also has he has very high ceiling, but a very low floor, right? Mike Williams could hang 30 points week 1, and then the next week score like 5 fucking points, and it wouldn't surprise me at all. But getting pieces of this Chargers offense makes a ton of sense. Personally here, I am going to go with Courtland Sutton. I also think Allen Robinson would be an acceptable pick here as well. We're to go with Courtland Sutton. After Sutton, we see Josh Jacobs, Lamar Jackson, Jerry Jeudy, Antonio Gibson, Mike Williams, Elijah Mitchell, J.K. Dobbins, Dalton Schultz, Breece Hall, and Joe Shiesty, Joe Burrow to close out the 4th round. The 5th opens with Hollywood Brown, Allen Robinson, Amari Cooper, TJ Hawkinson, Chris Godwin, Jalen Hurts, Brandon Cooks, Kyler Murray, Adam Thielen, and Mr. Corvette, Juju Smith-Schuster. So in the 5th round, I'm fine with Jalen Hurts. I'm fine with Kyler Murray. I really think you can have a solid start to your team, right? We got our 2 starting running backs, our 2 starting wide receivers, and then I'm fine taking a quarterback. But before this, I think it is a reach. But with the quarterbacks that have been taken, we've seen Josh Allen, Justin Herbert, the pervert, Patty Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Joe Shiesty, Jalen Hurts, and Kyler, the short King Murray, are all off the board. So now we're in the range of quarterback where I like Brady. I like Dak Prescott. I like Russell Wilson, but do I like them in the 5th round? Fuck no. I think they're acceptable to take in like the 7th round, and they're not going to get to us in the 7th round, more than likely. but I'm still fine waiting. I'm going to be honest with you. I think it is a humongous reach to take one of them here in the 5th round. This running back range is not so hot in my opinion. I do like Clyde Edwards-Helaire, but I like him when he goes in like the 8th round of best ball drafts on Underdog and all those other websites. Shout out to Underdog Fantasy, the sponsor of today's video. I'm wearing the Underdog Cardio Club shirt right now, so shout out to them. But at the 5.11 here, we're not going with a running back. We are going to go wide receiver. Best wide receivers available: Michael Thomas, who's banged up right now, St. Brown, Darnell, here comes the Mooney, Rashad Master Bateman. I love all of these guys. I am hunting for upside here, and I think based upon upside alone, we should either be going with Michael Thomas or Rashad Master Bateman. I think Rashad Bateman is going to be the #1 receiver in this Ravens offense. We shall see if that is going to be as fruitful as what Hollywood Brown would have been last season if he could catch the ball. This may be a swing and a miss of a pick because I know the Ravens like to run the ball a lot, but I just think the upside here with Rashad Bateman is so big that I don't want to miss out on him. So after we go with Rashad Master Bateman, we see Tampa Bay Tom Brady, Michael Thomas, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Damian Harris, A.J. Dillon, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Now, my opinion on Damian Harris has went up and down like a fucking roller coaster ride all off season long. Initially, I liked Damian Harris, but then I started to worry about Ramondre Stevenson, and I wasn't as hot on Damian Harris. But now, where we are sitting right now on August 27th, I think Damian Harris is going to be the starter, and I wouldn't be surprised if every drive, the first drive of the game, it's Damian Harris. The next drive, it's Ramondre Stevenson. The drive after that, it's Damian Harris. They keep flip-flopping, and that could end up with a Patriots offense potentially leading to both of them finishing as top 24 running backs. I don't know if I like Damian Harris in the 6th round, but I don't think he's an awful pick in fantasy this year. After we went ahead and went with Rashad Bateman, I think it's time to go wide receiver yet again. Again, this quarterback range I like, but in the 6th round, I don't feel comfortable. And the tight ends here are just so-so. Dallas Goedert, Zach Ertz, they don't really move the needle for me. I do like both of them, but in my opinion, they don't move the needle in the 6th round. So we're just going to go wide receiver yet again. And we are going to go yet again for the highest upside possible. I think the highest upside picks here are Darnell Mooney, DeAndre Hopkins, and Gabe Davis. I think D-Hop is a pretty solid pick, though we will have to rely on Rashad Master Bateman week 1. And if you aren't as comfortable starting Bateman because we haven't really seen him too much at the NFL level, I understand that. D-Hop is a guy that's suspended for the first 6 games, but I think when he comes back, he's going to potentially be a top 10 wide receiver in terms of points per game. And when you draft DeAndre Hopkins, you can actually just throw him on the IR and then just play a different and then just pick up a different wide receiver off the waiver wire. So we're going to go ahead and go with that strategy and draft DeAndre Hopkins here in the 6th round. I think he's a value in drafts because in your league, especially if it has an IR spot. Now, if it doesn't have an IR spot, I probably would have just taken Gabe Davis at that pick. But with an IR spot, I think it is very valuable to draft a guy that you know when he comes back and is healthy, he is going to or not is healthy because he is healthy. When he comes back off of that suspension for using the juice, then I think DeAndre Hopkins really could be a top 10 receiver. After D-Hop, we see Gabe Davis followed by Miles Sanders, Kenneth Walker, Russell Wilson. The 6.9, very nice. I like. Dallas Goedert, Darnell, here comes the Mooney, Devontae Smith, Cordell Patterson, Drake London, and Kareem Hunt. The 7th round opens with Zach Ertz, Tony Pollard, Dickie Dak Prescott, Aaron Rodgers, Chase Edmonds, Hunter Renfrow, Treylon Burks, Brandon Ayuk, Dawson Knox one time if you are with me, and Elijah Moore. Looking at the running back range here, things are going to take a great fall off. I would say after the 8th round here in terms of my confidence in the running backs, like Humpty Dumpty off the goddamn wall. So here we are going to be snagging 2 running backs in a row and then probably go back to hammering in on wide receivers and potentially take our quarterback or our tight end. So we're going to go with best running back available. I love Singletary this year. I love Rashad Penny. I like Ramondre Stevenson. I love Dameon Pierce, but I think Pierce will fall to me in the 8th round. That dude's ADP is rising at a insane rate at this point. I talk about that in the ADP risers and fallers video that is coming out today as well. Dameon Pierce is getting steamed up, and for good reason. He looked excellent in that that 3rd preseason game from a couple of days ago. I really love Dameon Pierce this year, but I think he's going to fall to me. So we're going to go with Devin Singletary, who I truly believe is the #1 running back, the lead back on the Buffalo Bills, and I think in 2022, we are going to see him ascend like he did deep into last season. After Devin Singletary, we see Rashad Penny, Matthew Stafford, Trey Lance, Tyler Lockett in Bob Pocket, Ramondre Stevenson, and James Cook. So I'm back up on the board here. I'm going to stick with my guns here and go with my main man, Dameon Pierce of the Houston Texans. After we go, Dameon Pierce comes Allen Lazard, but if I'm being honest with you guys, I think if you are drafting next weekend and Labor Day, you're not going to be able to get Dameon Pierce in the 8th round. He's probably going to be like a 6th round pick. And if I'm being honest with you, I think I'd still pull the trigger there. I really like Dameon Pierce in Dynasty. Who knows where he's going to be next year. But this year, talking about redraft, talking about 1 year, I think this is going to be a humongous big year for Dameon Pierce. After Pierce, we see Allen Lazard, Melvin Gordon, Garrett Wilson. Then we see Chris Olave, Derek Carr, Christian Kirk, Pat Freiermuth, Robert Woods, Mike Lickia, Mike Gesicki, Kadarius Toney, Sky with 2 Wisemore, George Pickens, Chase Claypool, James Robinson, the Rams defense. That's the worst pick in the draft. I hated Josh Allen in the 2nd round, but this guy made his team even worse by drafting the Rams defense because you don't need to draft a defense until the final 2 picks of the draft, you silly goose. After that, we see Michael Cotta, Mr. You Like That, Kirk Cousins, Tyler, yeah, Boyd, Alexander Madison, and Albert O. So we still don't have a quarterback, we still don't have a tight end, but that decision is to be seen after we hear a quick word from our friends and our sponsor, Underdog Fantasy. Underdog Fantasy is the best place to play fantasy football this summer. The Best Ball Mania 3 tournament has $10 million in total prize money, $2 million to first place. All you got to do is draft your team and that's it. You don't have to worry about doing the waivers, no trades, and no in-season management. Underdog automatically gives you your best score at the end of each week of the season. Last year's Best Ball Mania champion drafted their team in June, so if you're normally someone who waits to draft the redraft league until Labor Day weekend, you can start drafting right now. Click on the link in the video description down below or use promo code Stokastic, which has been on your screen the whole entire video, STOKASTIC, below to get a first match deposit bonus of up to $100 with Underdog and get our best ball draft kit 100% free. That's a combined $170 of value with a first time deposit of $100. Please make sure you guys check that out. I love doing drafts over on Underdog Fantasy. So now we are back up on the board here. We still do not have a quarterback, and if I'm being honest with you, we have now entered the range of quarterback where I don't feel like reaching for any of them is advantageous. I love Jameis Winston. I think there's a chance we could get him in the 11th round because of how many people I've already selected a quarterback. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 quarterbacks already off the board. Now, let me give you a lesson real quick because I just noticed this now. If you draft a quarterback in, say, round 5, there is no need to back him up in round 8 with Derek Carr. There is no need to do that. I like Derek Carr and I like Jalen Hurts. If you draft Jalen Hurts, if you invest that top 5 round draft capital in a quarterback, why are you going to take another one and then you're going to be confused every week on which one to start? Just draft one, and if you're going to draft 2 because you fear that your other league mates are going to draft 2 quarterbacks, then just wait until the end of the draft and select another one. To me, that's what I like to do. So I'm fine with not going with a quarterback here. We're going to go wide receiver, and we're going to go with my boy MVS, wide receiver of the Kansas City Chiefs. He is one of the highest upside picks in the late rounds, in my opinion. While I am not 100% sure it is set in stone that he is the number 1 receiver on the team, it could easily be Juju, and based upon where Juju's getting drafted in the 5th round, that's what people are assuming, but it wouldn't surprise me at all if MVS was the number 1 guy in this offense behind Travis Kelce. So I like taking that upside on great offenses late in drafts. After MVS, we see a couple of kickers, a defense, Cole Kmet, the 49ers defense, and Isaiah Spiller. So we still don't have a quarterback here. I think we're fine waiting, but if I'm being honest with you, I just want to get a guy that I'm comfortable with, and we're going to go ahead and kind of reach down a little bit and select my boy famous Jameis Winston, quarterback of the New Orleans Saints. There are so many weapons there in New Orleans. Even if Michael Thomas is banged up to start the season, they still have Jarvis Landry as well as rookie wide receiver Chris Olave, who went at the 8.8. I was trying to find him, the 808 there. So solid pick, in my opinion, is to take Jameis Winston here. I think he has a decent amount of rushing upside as well, and he looked really strong to start last season before he got hurt. So it is a bit of a reach, but I do like Jameis Winston a ton. I think Tua's fine as well, Justin Fields, Trevor Lawrence, but right now I feel like I would prefer Jameis slightly over them. I think Jameis just has a lot more upside than Tua. I think Tua is more of a safe pick. So after Jameis, we see Justin Tucker, the fucker, Matt Gay, Buccaneers defense, Julio Jones, bunch of kickers, bunch of defenses, Naheem Hines, Jarvis Landry, Tua Tagovailoa, Michael Gallup, Russell Gage, Rondell Moore, Hunter Henry, Tyler Higbee, Darrell Henderson, and Christian Watson. Right now, we have 4 running backs, so I'm pretty comfortable exiting this draft with 5 running backs and then just drafting a receiver with the last pick. We also need a tight end. Again, I'm fine just keeping Jameis as my number 1 quarterback. If Jameis ends up sucking donkey dick in terms of fantasy, then I'll just cut someone and pick up a new quarterback, or I'll just cut Jameis. I don't give a damn. So we do need a tight end eventually here. Irv Smith, the question with him is he going to be ready for week 1? Because this report from 3 days ago, he takes part in limited practice. He had surgery, he hasn't caught any passes. They kind of expect him to be ready for week 1. I'm not too sure. I know who is going to be ready for week 1, though. That is Gerald Everett, the tight end of the LA Chargers. We will see how this tight end room ends up working in week number 1, but I want to take shots on these offenses that I think are going to be really fucking good late in drafts. That's what I did with MVS. That's what I just did with Gerald Everett of the Chargers. I think the Chargers are going to be a chef's kiss, magnifique, fantastic offense in 2022. After Gerald Everett, we see the Dallas Cowboys defense, Brian Robinson, Rashad White. Then we see Nick Folk, Kenny Gainwell, Justin Fields come off the board here. So I'm going to go another wide receiver and a running back to close out the draft. We're kind of in the running back range where I like some of these guys, but I don't need to draft them here. I'd rather just take a wide receiver that I like more. And again, if your league allows suspended players to go in the IR, we will be picking up another player after the draft. We would, obviously, if this was a real draft for Mr. D-Hop, who would go in the IR spot. So we're going to go receiver here. We're going to go with my main man, Jalen. Actually, we're going to go Romeo Dubes. Normally, I would go with Jalen Tolbert here. Romeo Dubes, rookie wide receiver of the Green Bay Packers. There has been so much positivity towards Romeo Dubes. Romeo Dubes has that narrative from last year. Remember the breakfast narrative with Cooper Kupp and Matthew Stafford? Now, Romeo Dubes and Aaron Rodgers are eating lunch together. Now, does that necessarily correlate to meaning that Romeo Dubes is going to be the best wide receiver in 2022, just like Cooper Kupp was last year? Probably not, right? But Romeo Dubes could be the number 1 target in this offense, and he goes at a strong discount in the 12th round. After Romeo Dubes, we see Irv Smith, the Colts defense, Devontae Parker, Brandon McManus, Tyler Algier, Jahan Dotson, my old bitch lane, but my young Hoku, Ronald Jones, who's going to get cut. Not the greatest of pick in the 12th round. The Packers defense, Jamal Williams. The 13th round opens with Trevor Lawrence, Jalen Tolbert, David Njoku, Kenny Galladay, Marlon Mack, J.D. McKissick, Broncos, Jacoby Myers, Noah Fant, and Khalil Herbert. So here, we are going to go running back just like I talked about before, and then we are going to go ahead and close out the draft with a kicker and a defense. Let's go ahead and go with TDP here. Tyrion Davis Price seems like he's the number 2 back on the 49ers behind Elijah Mitchell, and we all know how the 49ers backfield works, right? They use the hot hand approach. If Elijah Mitchell starts struggling early on, I think TDP could take over as the number 1 lead back in a very run-heavy system with the 49ers. After TDP, we see DJ Chark, baby Chark, his teammate Jamal Williams, Deshaun Watson, McCole Hardman, Mac Jones, and Raheem Mostert. Deshaun Watson in a 14-team league is an insane pick. With how scarce it is on the waiver wire, and how hard it's going to be to try to find those guys late in the draft. Drafting Deshaun Watson, who's going to be fucking out for 11 weeks, makes no sense. It makes no sense. I guess you could put him on the IR spot and pick someone up in some leagues, but man, that really doesn't make too much sense in my opinion. After D. Watson, we see McCole Hardman, Mac Jones, Raheem Mostert. Mac Jones looks like absolute dog shit. I am really worried about Mac Jones this year. I am very worried. But maybe it's just preseason and I'm overreacting. For defense, I believe you should take your defense before your kicker. I'm just hunting for a defense playing a not-so-hot opponent in week number 1. The Broncos is normally my pick. They go up against the Seattle Seahawks. The Browns play up against the Carolina Panthers. I am slightly worried about the fact that Baker Mayfield is going to go apeshit, absolutely bananas on the Carolina Panthers in a revenge game. But they also have the Jets, the Steelers, and the Atlanta Falcons for the first 4 weeks, so you can reasonably hold them for the first 4 games of the season. So I like the Cleveland Browns a lot in terms of picking a defense. After the Browns, we see Isaiah Pacheco, Nico Collins, Marky Mark Ingram, Chuba Hubbard, the Steelers defense, Matty Ice Baby, Odell Beckham Jr., Rodrigo, you sunk my Blankenship, KJ Osborne, Sammy Watkins. The 15th and final round opens with Robbie Gould, Zamir White, Alec Pierce, Kenny Pickett, Robert Tonyan, Hayden Hurst, Darrell Williams. Then we see Sir William Lutz, Isaiah McKenzie, and the Patriots defense. We're going kicker here, just best kicker available. The kickers on this fucking website are not ranked correctly at all. We're gonna go with my guy, Jason Sanders. The kicker rankings on this website are absolutely fucking atrocious. Jason Sanders, starting kicker of the Miami Dolphins. After that, we see Austin Hoop God Hooper, KJ Hamler, and Van Jefferson. So to recap our team right here, it is on the screen right here. My mic is slightly protruding into Jason Sanders, but it's not like anyone came here to give a fuck about which kicker I selected. So we got DeAndre Swift, we got Saquon Barkley, DJ Moore, Cortland Sutton, Rashawn Master, Bateman, DeAndre Hopkins, Devin Singletary, Damian Pierce, MVS, Jameis Winston, Gerald Everett, Romeo Dubes, Tyrion Davis Price, Cleveland Browns defense, and Jason Sanders. So let me know down below in the comment section what you thought about today's draft. Make sure you guys do check out promo code Stokastic on Underdog Fantasy, and make sure that you have a great rest of your guys' day. I love you guys all so much. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and as always, good boy!